Hi, my name is Justin Caffrey and welcome to another video on my channel. Today we're going to talk about heart rate variability, performance, mental blockers, and how, as an example, when I worked with a professional athlete, can we access our central nervous system to shift underperformance and re-engage that flow state, that capacity to move effortlessly through life. I'll reveal all. But please, if you can, like and subscribe. If you're watching this and you're watching my content normally and you haven't subscribed, come on, subscribe, hit the bell. It boosts the algorithm on YouTube. And most importantly, the aim of this channel is for me to share content for individuals who can't afford to work with me, who don't have the capacity to work with somebody like me. And it means that we can help people in terms of their mental health, their resilience, their vagus nerve, their vagal tone, their heart rate variability, reducing anxiety, stress, and depression. Things that the world can benefit from. So please do like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference. But now let's just have a talk about today's subject. So as an example, I'm going to work through a professional athlete that I've just finished working with in the last couple of weeks. And this professional athlete came to me because there had been a very big detrimental shift in terms of their performance. There was a couple of events that led up to this. Most notably, a high-profile move which increased their value, increased their media attention, and increased their social media attention. And as a result, there was an expectation. And that expectation meant the capacity to step up a level, which of course this athlete had done consistently all the way through their career from a very young age. However, something shifted this time. And when it was noticeable on the field of play, there was a millisecond of difference in terms of response time. So when a ball was played to them, instead of immediately passing it off or taking a strike at goal, they ended up hesitating for a millisecond. But those around them didn't hesitate because they were still surrounded by equal professionals who were in that flow and didn't have the mental blocker to ask a question before acting. And each time it was, boom, taken down, taken out. And I suppose the question is, how does this relate to the rest of us mere mortals? I might be a coach, some very impressive people, but I'm not a professional athlete myself. I like to think I am in my own mind, but that's more of a belief factor than a reality. We had to look at what was going on. So I was approached by the development side of this particular club, and we wanted to have a look at what was actually going on in terms of human performance. For me, trauma is a really important part of this. And trauma is often seen as this huge word, and a word that often is misconstrued to believe it to be something really significant. So the death of my son, and some of you may know my story, of course, was a trauma. But it was the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't the trauma that destabilized me, but it was the one that left me with no more capacity to manage what was going on in my head. I was just about managing and staying in the game and being a really high performance professional. But then eventually it becomes overwhelming. I use this bottle as an example. We all come into the world with an empty bottle, and as the water level rises, this is kind of signifying the stress in our lives. And some people will, check out in their 70s or 80s and, they maybe have 30% space left. So they've got headspace, and the 70% represents all the stuff that's happened in their life. But for others, when events happen the water level rises to the top. And when the water level rises to the top in that last event, so in this particular scenario, this athlete's transferred to a new club and a huge expectation, there's no space left anymore. And without that space, there's no spaciousness. And without spaciousness, there's no flow. So what tends to happen is water just starts to overflow at the top. Everything feels super overwhelming in terms of performance. And in that situation and in that scenario, that athlete, which when I had a conversation with him, one of the things they said to me, imagine if somebody said to you, here's your cell phone bill, here's your bank card to pay it. And of course, the athlete in question has a lot of money in his bank account. Can you pay your bill? I said to him, how does that make you feel? Oh, can't get my head around that. Don't even want to have to think about that. Like the idea of getting through process is nearly impossible. So why is that? What's going on? Well, as you have moved through life and as you've come to the point where straw has broken the camel's back and stress becomes overwhelming, you cognitively shift out of your prefrontal cortex and you move in to your amygdala, your stress brain, your fight and flight response. And when I studied this in Eastern philosophy, the key here is flow state, Wu Wei. And that's what Taoism has been talking about for 5,000 years. And within that philosophy, you come across Jiji Wujie, the interconnectivity of everything. There's no separation. Everything in our lives is interconnected. So where there is a break in the line of communication, that break will bleed into all parts of our lives. And in particular, professional athletes, high performance leaders in businesses around the world, you don't have time to think. You have to use the cumulative value of all of your resources that have brought you to this moment to drive you with instinct. It's the non-thinking that has made you successful. Thinking is 1/100th of a millisecond extra, but it requires you to pause for a second. Professional sport, that 1/100th of a millisecond, boom. You can think about F1. These cars are 0.2, 0.1, 0.05% behind each other. If the driver is not just driving on instinct, he is losing before he even gets into the car. If the footballer is on the pitch and he's thinking, he's already losing. If you watch true professional athletes, strikers taking a shot at goal, they don't even look at the goal. They know where they are and where they need to send the ball, and the mental acuity is connected to the core of the being, and the transaction has already happened in their mind before the foot contacts the ball. Now, when we have multiple little moments in our lives, multiple little traumas, the last trauma is often the one that just goes at the bottom. And time again, especially working with high performance professional athletes, high performance individuals, full stop, people who are in that 1% or 5% category, they usually come from difficult backgrounds. Challenges growing up, broken homes, violence, alcohol, abuse, sexual, emotional, physical. Something drives them on to be different to everybody else. And it continues to drive them on. And they often have imposter syndrome, and that continues to drive them on as well. But at some point, the rubber stops hitting the road. And the last event that meant that the bottle is full means that they drop. And they can't really find it And actually the anger of trying to refind it makes it even worse. And there's no question about their physical ability to deliver, because they've done it all their lives. There's no question about their track record to deliver. But what there is a question of is their mental state. So how do we calm the mind? In the history of the world, how many people have ever calmed down who've been asked to or told, come on, can you calm down? If you've tried that before, you know the answer. If you haven't tried it, best to avoid it. We can't tell ourselves to calm down. People go through this process all the time. When this athlete came to work with me, he said, well, I'm really fed up. I know what's going wrong on the pitch. I want to be able to get my head back in the game, but I can't. And I'm frustrated by it. So we needed to be able to get his nervous system to do the work for us. And your nervous system doesn't speak English, German, Chinese, French, doesn't really speak any language. Our fight and flight mechanism is 200,000 years old. Our smart brain is 10,000 years old. So for 5% of our time on the planet, we have a smart brain. For 100% of our time on the planet, we have a really dumb part of our brain. It's very good at making sure we run away from bears or people with guns, but it's not very good at discerning what is stress in the modern world. So we have to access it quite differently. One of the simple ways to understand what's happening in your neurological and physiological responses is to look at your heart rate variability. That's a kind of a key indicator as to what's going on. If you track your data on a regular and long-term basis, and you're underperforming, it will be a clear indicator of your physical and mental state. Now, athletes who overtrain will see their heart rate variability reduce. This is your vagal tone. It's the measurement of how your vagus nerve is responding, moving you from a stress state to a relaxed state. And if you track your heart rate variability and it's decreasing, and you're also underperforming in life, sport, business, friendship, it's a pretty good chance that there's a psychological or physiological issue at play. If you know physiologically you're in good shape, your nutrition is okay, you're training but you're not overtraining, then there's a psychological issue at play. And we do a multitude of things in order to help people clear down those traumas. And as an example, my son Joshua's death just before his first birthday. By using this process, I've learned to see his death as one of the greatest and happiest moments in my life. He truly inspired me to make deep changes. And when we realize that everything that's happened in the past is truly in the past, and when we can see it for what it is, but most importantly, when we can neurologically feel it, and when we can physiologically sense that connection in our nervous system, which is not through English or spoken language, then I move back into flow state, into Wu Wei, my capacity to perform on the pitch. And with this athlete, the last incident, the straw that broke the camel's back, we did some work to put that to rest, as Gabor Mate would call it, that hungry ghost to rest. But we also wanted to investigate some other hungry ghosts. And most importantly, we found one of the root causes, and it was a relationship with his father, who laid huge expectations on his shoulder to perform. So when the social media and media focus shifted onto him to perform, because now his price tag was some stupid amount of money, it re-triggered a fear sense and behavior that goes back to being 11 years of age. being screamed at on the side of the pitch. So that was our real hungry ghost. So together we went back and we met that hungry ghost. And the process that I use helps the nervous system understand that that is in the past. We go through a process of helping it know that it's over, because every event in life has a start, a middle, and an end. And we go through this arc of an event. So every event starts, there's a middle, and an end. But challenging traumatic moments, and trauma can be, locked in during COVID, it can be loss of a job, a breakup of a relationship. Trauma is not a big event. It's something that destabilizes your nervous system and destabilizes your capacity to be present and in flow. And what tends to happen in historical events, like the 11-year-old kid at the side of the pitch with his old man screaming, that event doesn't actually close. It stays slightly open. So the angle has not closed and the nervous system still believes it's happening. Our work helps the nervous system realize that it's over. A great place to start if you want to just help your heart rate variability in your nervous system is just with your breathing. Making sure that you shift to nasal breathing will already help. Practicing some meditation and mindfulness will really help too. The kind of work that I do with people on a one-to-one basis is deep, profound, and impactful. And with somebody like this athlete, we did a 2-day workshop, 12 hours a day together to really unpack everything. But for you guys as individuals, coming to terms with who you are, where you've come from, and what's going on can already be a bit of a help. But improving your heart rate variability can be achieved by something as simple as improving how you breathe, improving how you move, and slowing down. Conventional therapy can also be a help too. Cognitive-based therapy is not necessarily the right solution because you really want to come to terms with the core of who you are. I do work with some other therapists, so if you can't afford to work with me, I have access to some people who use similar techniques to me around the world. So drop me a line. Put your comments below on this video. But most importantly, no matter what's going on with you, know that you have this immense capacity to heal. I was chronically ill, multiple autoimmune diseases, extreme anxiety, depression, hopelessness, helplessness, planning my own suicide. It was when I made the decision to change, when I realized that change begins and ends with me. And when you realize that nobody else is coming to save you, you got to do the work. Everything will change. And those people who work with me on an ongoing basis, those who succeed, stay in the game. They wake up, show, do the work. They remain honest and integral in terms of what they're going to do. Where people fall by the wayside, they start lying to themselves. Lying to yourself often gets you to the point where you are right now. So absolute honesty is key, and in particular, the key thing that we work through is radical transparency. So if this works, if this resonates with you and it sounds like it has value, come and speak to me, drop me a line, put your comments below. Please like and subscribe to this video. There's some meditations here, 9 minutes and 14-minute meditations that will really help you in terms of improving your well-being and increasing your HRV. Thanks. Oh, you can reach me on yourbottomline.com.